Hello, everyone. I am Deanne Jones. I'm the project director for Strong Readers here at the State Department of Education in Oklahoma. And I am going to go over the annual district reading plan with you today. Our district reading plan just opened and it will be due October 15th. So I'm going to be going into sample test site on single sign-on and showing you how to fill out your plan. When you go into single sign-on, you will go to where it says Strong Readers Annual District Reading Plan and click your district. I'm just going to be clicking a district to use as a sample. Once you're to this page, you will click the 24-25 school year to begin your plan. You will notice there was not a place to check to copy your plan from previous years. That is new this year. So you will be entering all of your information from scratch. The first thing that you have when you go in is your district timeline and your Strong Readers Act funds tab. So first let's take a look at the timeline. I went ahead and went into this one and entered my dates, but I want to talk to you just for a minute about each date that you're going to enter. The first one is just the date that you are saying that someone from your district is going to open the plan and begin working on it. I enter today's date as the plan is just opening today on September 12th. And then the next thing is what date that the site principal will approve and submit the plan. And I'm picking September 20th. And then the next one is when the district superintendent will certify and submit the plan to the State Department. And I'm putting that my superintendent is going to do this by September 27th. You will notice the due date says August 31st. This year, that is extended because of the plan not opening, having a delayed opening. So the plan this year will actually be due October 15th. The next question is about what date you are going to begin assessing your K-3 students for your Strong Readers count. I put that I'm going to be testing I started testing my students right after Labor Day on September 3rd, and that I would be finished with my testing window by September 13th. I gave here a 2-week testing window, and I do want to say that this is one of the things when we're checking your plan that we will be checking for. We will be checking to make sure that your assessment windows are between 1 and 3 weeks in length. The shorter than a 1 week timeline is just not feasible to get all of your testing completed, but we also don't want it to extend past a 3-week window, because at that point your data is just not valid comparing your student the test at the beginning of an extended testing window to the end of it. So we want to keep these dates of this window to be within 1 to 3 weeks. The next one is when you're going to have all of your data entered into the Strong Readers Act survey for your beginning of the year numbers. And I put that I'm going to have mine done by September 19th. And then the next thing is the date that your superintendent will certify this information by, and I put that my superintendent would certify it by September 20th. And then the Strong Readers Act survey beginning of the year report is due this year on October 1st. This date is the date that you will have written notification to your parents and have your SLIP plans in place. This date does need to be 30 days. So this date, you would put 30 days past the end of your testing window. But just keep in mind that each student's deadline will be based on the date that they took the assessment. So for example, in my example here, if I had a student take their test on September 3rd, I could not wait until October 13th to notify their parents. I would need to do it 30 days from this date. But if I have a student doing it at the end of my testing window, then this would be the due date. So what we're asking you here for is the date that you will have all of your slips complete. You have all of your notification for beginning of the year done. The next one is moving on to when you would begin assessing for the middle of the year screening. Middle of the year screening is district choice. It can be any time during December or January, but for my example, I chose to do it January 6th through January 17th. Same thing as beginning of the year, just make sure that your testing window is between 1 and 3 weeks long. And then this is the date that I would notify all of my parents by. Once again, this would need to be 30 days from the end of your testing window, but still keep in mind that each student's date has to be 30 days from the day that they took the screener, not the last of the testing window. So my date's going to be February 16th for mine. The next thing I want to look at is the end of the year testing window, and districts are free to choose any date for their testing window in April or May. I chose April 14th through April 25th. Same thing as the other ones. You just want to make sure that you have a 1 to 3 week testing window. And then you're going to enter the date that you would have all of this information entered into your Strong Readers Act survey that you access on single sign-on. And I picked May 5th for my date. And then the next date is when your superintendent will certify that data. And I put that it would be May 9th of 2025. And then all of that information is due on your end of the year report is due on May 31st of 2025. This next section is one of our new sections, and it is information about summer school. So you're going to put a date that you would enter your data for summer school into the single sign-on Strong Readers Act survey summer school report. And I'm putting that I am going to enter mine by June 23rd of 2025, and my superintendent would certify it by June 27th of 2025. These reports are not due until August 15th of 2025 because some schools could have their summer school in May, you could have it in June, you could have it in July. So we're going to give you until August 15th to have that information entered. So once you get your dates all set in your timeline, you're going to go down and push update, and that will save them. And then we'll bring you back to this page. The next thing you're going to move down to is your Strong Readers Act funds. Push select, and you can see that I've already entered my information for this. You're just putting your contact name, their information of how to reach them, their title, their email. And then this section, you're going to be entering how you're spending your Strong Readers funds. I put that I'm going to be using for intervention materials, professional development, and summer school. But we also have a link here where you can click to see all of the things that are allowed to use your Strong Readers funds on, as well as the codes when you are coding them in your district. So that resource is here with the link right there that you can access it. And then the last thing that you're going to do is about the 10% requirement. So districts that receive more than $2,500 are required to spend 10% of their Strong Readers allocation on professional development that has to do with the science reading. So we have an approved list, and there is a link right here that you can click to see the approved programs for our vendors that provide science reading aligned professional development. And you need to list what professional development you are going to utilize to spend your 10% this year. I wrote that I'm going to use the Science of Reading e-learning course by Really Great Reading. And then you would click Save, and it would bring you back to this screen. That is all that you have to do for the district report. And then we will move to the site plans. To move to the site plan, you're going to need to go down here, and you will have to select. See, mine right now is saying site approved, so it's not showing me any site plans to pick. So you would need to click this and go to all statuses so that you can see all of the site plans. So this one is bringing up an elementary school site plan for me, and I'm going to select. And you will see that mine says draft because I've already started this, yours, but I've already started this one. So I'm going to select this one, and it brings up my site plan. The first part of the site plan is the leadership team. I've already entered some of my leadership team. So I entered Linda Smith, who is the principal, and I made her my site primary contact. I've entered a reading specialist. I've entered a first grade teacher and a fourth grade teacher. I still need to enter another one because you are also supposed to have a parent or guardian on this leadership team. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So to add another line, you just click Add Team Member. And I am going to add John Lewis. put in his email. And I'm going to select that he is a parent. And then I just push save and it adds him onto this. So one of the things that we are looking for when we are checking these, we are looking to make sure that you have all of the correct people on your team. If you look up here, it tells you who all you have to have. You are required to have a school administrator. You are required to have teachers from at least 2 grade levels, and you're required to have a parent or guardian. I entered a reading specialist on mine. Those people are welcome to be on the team. They are not a required member, but you could also include instructional coaches, mentor teachers, other content area teachers, or anyone else that your principal appoints to this team. But it is required that you have an administrator, teachers from 2 grades, and a parent. And then right here, you're going to enter how often this team meets, and I put that they're going to meet quarterly. And you would save this information, and we're ready to move to the next section. The next section is assessment plans and goals. And you can see that I have already entered these for my kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade, but I have not done the 3rd grade one yet. So we will do that one right here. And I am entering what universal assessment we used. And on the other grades, I had put DIBELS. So I'm going to go select this. My sample school is going to be using DIBELS across their grade levels. So I'm entering that. And then these are the dates for your beginning of the year, middle of year, and end of year assessment window. These should fall within the dates that you put on your district plan. So in some cases, your district plan window might be 3 weeks long, but maybe one of your sites is saying we're only doing the first 2 weeks of it, or we're only doing 1 week of that. So each site has the ability to set their own assessment window, but it does have to be within the district window. So on my example, I am using my beginning of the year assessment window, and I'm just keeping it the same as the district. It was September 3rd through September 13th. And then my mid-year one, I used January 6th through January 17th. And my end of the year one was April 14th through April 25th. The next question is, what assessment did you use for screening for the characteristics of dyslexia? And I used DIBELS. And then this is one of our new questions this year, and that is, what diagnostic assessment are you using to identify your students' needs? And at my sample school, I am using Literacy First testing. And then another new thing is about which progress monitoring assessment you're using. Before we did ask, this might have been on there, but we are going to ask this year, if you are progress monitoring with the same tool that you're using for your universal screening, you would just click this one right here. But for my sample school, I chose to do one progress monitor than a different assessment tool. So you click this, and if you click that, a box will appear for you to write what tool it is that you're using. So I put that I was using the 95% group tool, and that's what I'm going to progress monitor with. And then we just need to know frequency. And so I am going to progress monitor my tier 2s monthly, and I'm going to progress monitor my tier 3 students weekly. And then you push save, and you can just check right here on your data to make sure that that all looks correct. And that all looks correct for me. So I am just going to cancel and go back. And you can see now that my assessment plan and goals now has a green check. That means I now have all of the required information entered for that section. So on my core reading program, you can still see that it is red because I have not entered all of the necessary information to be completed with this section. So I'm going to click select. And I did pre-enter already the kindergarten 1st and 2nd grades that they are going to be using Wonders. And then we are using some supplemental instruction of Heggerty. And so I'm going to put that right there. With this, I'm going to go ahead and put that my third grade is also using Wonders. And we are, let's just say that my third grade is not going to use Heggerty for supplemental resources. This isn't one of our new sections, so if you're not putting anything, you just leave that blank. It is not required for you to put a supplemental resource right there. So if I click update so that it saves it, and I'll look at this page. So this is one of our new sections this year, the supplemental resources used for Core 1. What we're not wanting listed here is what you're using for your intervention services. That's going to be asked somewhere else. This is something that you are using in addition to your core program. So in addition to my Wonders, this is something that you're using for Tier 1 though. So this is something you're using with all of your students in that grade level. And then you would put that there. But just remember, this is not required. We are just asking you, if you are using supplemental instruction resources, we want to know what they are and we need them listed here, but you're not required to use supplemental. So for example, in this one, I'm going to say that my K1 and 2 are using supplemental resources of Heggerty, but my third grade is not, and that's perfectly acceptable. So I'll just go ahead and go back to the previous page. And now you can see that I have a green check on my core reading program as well, and that section is ready to go. Moving to the professional development section, I want to look over that with you. I have already filled information in. And I am just putting that it's asking you what professional development you're offering at your site, because this could be different at different sites. And then we're also just asking for you to check mark that you are aware that you do have to spend 10% of your Strong Readers funds on approved professional development. And you're just clicking that you are acknowledging that requirement. So for my sample site, I put in that our reading specialist is going to be doing some grade level trainings on using our benchmark data to guide instruction. And several of our teachers will be going through the Science of Reading e-learning course provided by Really Great Reading, which is one of our approved vendors that can be used for your 10% requirement. So after you have this information, you will just make sure that you have it saved and you go back to this page. This next section does have some changes on it from previous years. It is a new section called Time and Personnel for Strong Readers Act. And when you select this one, this is one of our new questions is, at your site level, how many staff are working directly with students on a regular basis to implement the provisions of the Strong Readers Act? So this can be your regular classroom teachers, it can be support teachers, paraprofessionals, reading specialists, speech pathologists, anyone that's working to give these interventions and working with students on a regular basis. And you're just entering a count, a staff count. We don't want you to count volunteers. We only want staff on this. So I put mine in that I'm having 19 staff at my site level who are working on a daily basis with students. Then down here, it's asking you about average daily core time you're spending for Tier 1 instruction, and you would enter that here. And then this is asking for average daily instructional time in addition to that. So let me just go ahead, and I've already done the kindergarten, first and second grade, but I'm going to go ahead and skip to third grade and do that one with you. So in the first block, I'm putting that we are spending 90 minutes of average daily time for Core 1 tier instruction. That is one of the things we will be checking for when we are checking your plan. It is a requirement in Oklahoma that you have a 90-minute reading block for Core 1 instruction. It does not have to be uninterrupted, but you do have to have a total of 90 minutes a day for core instruction. So we would be looking to make sure that your time you put here is 90 minutes or more. Average daily time for additional instruction. This is not a requirement. So you can see that I'm just gonna leave it blank on third grade. I'm gonna say that we don't do any extra daily additional instruction in third grade. So I'm gonna click update, go back to this page. So for my sample school, you can see I did not put any additional instruction time for kindergarten or third, but I put that they are doing it in first and second. So this could look different at every school, at every site, because once again, this is not a requirement But what this is asking for is additional time that everyone is receiving additional instruction. So this might be something like power half hour or walk to read or something like that. That's where you would be entering this right here. Then I'm going to go back to my previous page. And I am moving on to the parent-guardian communication. I've already entered my dates, but what this is asking you for is just when you're communicating things with parents. You were already asked this on your district timeline, so this should kind of line up with that. This is the date that you will have all of your individual reading plans or the slips in place, and this should be within 30 days of the assessment window. And then the next question is about when you will have information out to your parents about the dyslexia screener. And the last one is when you would have information out to people who you were if you were adding someone to the slip at mid-year, newly identified students, then you would have 30 days from the completion of the middle of the year testing window. And I'm going to make sure that that is saved. And then I am back to this. The last section is the intervention outside of the 90-minute block for tier 2 and tier 3. So when you select this one, you'll see I've already entered quite a few different intervention blocks. This looks different than it did in previous years. Previously, we just entered these by tier 2, tier 3, but now you're going to be entering these by the skill area. So you'll see that I have entered several. I've entered 2 for phonics and decoding, tier 2 and a tier 3, and I've specified the setting, the intervention, the frequency, the duration, as well as intervention groups. You're going to click if it's including non-IEP students, IEP students, or students demonstrating the characteristics of dyslexia, and it could be all of these or some of these. And then you're going to make a row for each intervention skill area that you're addressing. So you'll notice that I did one for phonics for tier 2 and 3. I've done one for phonological and phonemic awareness for tier 2. And I've done one for fluency for tier 2. I've done one for phonological and phonemic awareness for tier 3. And I've done one for vocabulary. So now I'm going to show you adding one. So I'm going to add new intervention details. And I haven't done one for comprehension yet. So I'm going to add one for comprehension. For my intervention resource, I'm just going to be using the intervention materials that came with my reading program for this. So I'm going to put Wonders, intervention materials. And this would be for my tier 3 group. And my setting is going to be pull out by an interventionist. And this is going to be anybody who you're using. For my example, I'm going to use the reading specialist. And we're going to do a comprehension activity twice a week for 30 minutes. And it will include some non-IEP students as well as IEP students and students who are demonstrating the characteristics of dyslexia. So I'm going to save that and look back at this. I just want to say when we're checking these, what we're going to be checking is to make sure that you have shown a variety of interventions that will be taking place. We're going to need to see some tier 2 and some tier 3 as well. We're going to need to see them addressing multiple skill areas wherever your students are demonstrating need. And another thing I want to kind of point out is you may be not pulling this many, doesn't necessarily mean you're pulling this many separate times and seeing this many groups separately. It could be that your reading specialist is pulling tier 3 kids and they're working on phonics maybe 5 times a week, but in that same time she's pulling them, maybe once or twice a week, they're working on vocabulary as well, and they're working on comprehension as well. They might be working every time she's pulling them. They might be working the first 10 minutes or so on phonemic awareness. And so you would enter that as well. So you may see several different rows to discuss all of the skill areas that they're addressing, even though the specialist is only just pulling them one time. We're gonna make a row here for each skill area that they're addressing. So once you're done with this, you're going to just return to the previous page, and then you will be finished, and you would click submit, and then it will go to your principal for them to confirm. And then ultimately we go to your superintendent for them to certify it and send it to us for us to check. Once you are all done with that and it is submitted and sent to us by the deadline of October 15th, then we will be able to get them approved. And once we get everyone's approved and everyone's beginning of the year numbers approved, we will start sending out the Strong Readers funds. So thank you for your attention today and for your timely response to our reporting request. And thank you for all you do for young readers every day. Have a good day.